Nanovor hacked.
Lucas and Drew shut the door behind them and tried to slow their panicked breathing in silence. They didn't need to worry. When Ben and bulk damage plowed through, they made enough noise coming through the door and looking up and down the hallway and complained so loudly that Lucas and Drew could have had a full volume conversation in the closet and Ben and Bulk wouldn't have heard them. Not that they took that chance. They stood frozen, breathing as carefully as they could and trying not to upset the mops and buckets that they found themselves straddling. They should be trailing as much stuff as we are. See if you can find anything, they heard Ben say in an outraged voice. I don't think they're trailing as much caramel as you, Bulk said. Sure, laugh it up, that's helping, said Ben. They probably went to go hide in Mr. Sapphire's classroom. Whatever we do, we have to keep them away from Dana. Why? Why do you think, you idiot? She's hitting up the nanosphere to upload that data she got. Oh, why don't we just guard Dana? Ben's voice had the impatient, patient tone that many parents used when dealing with slow children. Because... Wait up, man. I busted up my ankle on that wooden thing, Bulk said. Lucas snickered at the whining tone in his voice, but Drew punched him in the shoulder. Ben and Bulk's footsteps faded into the distance and up the stairs. Risking another punch from Drew, Lucas let out a huge breath. So, you want to tell me what was going on back there? He asked her. She shifted uncomfortably in the closet, edging closer to him. You mean besides getting half the school mad at me? Yeah, I overheard Dana making plans to upload this false data using the nanosphere. I know you don't believe they used Madame Zeldara. No, Lucas interrupted quickly. You're right. It was my invention. It let them download and store the private information. Now they're going to do something bad with it. I have to stop them. Drew put her hand on his shoulder, and he froze. You have to stop her, Lucas. Dana's the only one in the nanosphere. I'm not trying to harp on you or say I told you so, but I want you to know what we're facing. Dana is in there. Dana stole the data, and Dana is the one uploading the false data to get her dad's job back. Do you understand? He was silent for a moment. She removed her hand from his shoulder. I'm glad you're going to do what's right, and I'm sorry if it ruins your chances to go to the state science fair next weekend. But Dana is also planning on rigging the contest so you win and go to state. And she's also going to use Madame Zeldara to expose Dr. Waits. She thinks she has to make a big public stink about it to make her daddy smell like roses. Lucas sighed. Would it really be so bad if I at least got credit for inventing the machine that exposed the bad guy from Skylabs? Drew poked him in the back of the head. Yes, it would be so bad. He's not really a bad guy. He's being framed. This would be like you getting kicked out of school because someone pretended to prove you didn't create Madame Zeldara. Would that be fair? Lucas shook his head in the dark, knowing she wouldn't see him. And besides, she continued, heroes don't do it for the credit. They do things because they're right. Sometimes no one even knows who saved the day. The point is that the right thing gets done. Yeah, he said, sighing. You and your doing the right thing. She had a point, no matter how much he didn't like to admit it. He could always count on Drew to see the right thing to do, and he ended up better because of it. He surprised them both by turning and hugging her in the dark closet. Thanks for being there, he said. Oh, hey, sure, no problem, she said, taken aback. Drew, he said, still hugging her. Yeah, she barely breathed. You have popcorn in your hair. She shoved him off of her, laughing. Come on, let's go after Dana. They fumbled in the dark to get their nanoscopes from their book bags. Doc Zapp had modified them to connect to the nanosphere via Wi-Fi, so they didn't have to be near the nanoscanner to enter the sphere. They each slipped on their earphones and turned them on. The earphones were actually headsets that tapped into the wearer's brainwaves. With their headsets in place, Lucas and Drew would be able to project into the nanosphere and control avatars there that could interact with the nanoscopic landscape the Nanovor called home. As their headsets pulled them into the nanosphere, Drew whispered to Lucas, I got your back, Lucas. I know, Drew. Dana arrived in the nanosphere with two of her Nanovor waiting for her already. She walked toward them across spiky, iridescent blue grass that crunched with a flat digital sound as she crushed the blades. The sleek blue Megadoom munched contently on the grass while her deadly aqua-colored Doom Mantis, a Nanovor that looked like it walked on knives instead of legs, watched her approach. Her favorite, the serpentine-like phase spiker, wasn't here yet. Are you ladies ready to make some history? She asked. Although the Nanovor never exhibited any signs that they were one gender or another, she'd gotten tired of the boys calling all of their Nanovor him, so she had decided that hers were female. She also called all of Ben's Nanovor her, just to annoy him. She patted the sleek armor of the Megadoom. For being a violent silicon-based creature, it showed a good deal of affection for Dana. It nuzzled her and she pushed it off gently. She concentrated briefly, and energy crackled in her hands. The electric leash they used to control the Nanovor within the nanosphere. She held one hand out to each Nanovor, and the leashes leaped from her hands to capture the creatures. Her avatar wore a black bodysuit, showing curves that seemed more serpentine than feminine. From a deep pocket within her red cloak, she pulled a wriggling snake. It was blue and twined around her wrist like a bracelet. She whispered a web address to it and dropped it into the sharp grass. It slithered off, and Dana followed it at a jog. Data appeared in unfamiliar forms in the nanosphere. The snake was actually a program that would locate the Skylab servers for her. Databases loomed in the distance like crystalline structures, but the snake avoided those and stuck to the fields between the fortresses. Dana leaped over a crimson data stream, a chat room for fans of the latest teen star. Usually she would stick around and listen in, but she had no time. Dana loved the nanosphere. The power she had over other avatars and Nanovor was unique. She'd modified the nanoscanner to increase her power when she created her avatar. Unfortunately, this modification made her power in the sphere as unreliable as it was strong. But she didn't have to be here for long. She had only one job to do, and that didn't include fighting any Nanovor or messing with others' avatars. The snake slowed, nearing a mountain range. While most databases were fortresses, the stronger governmental or large corporation databases were made of actual mountains of data. Rocky outcroppings of web pages sat on top, while huge humming collections of data lay within. Dana approached the first blocked mountain pass, an iron gate that stretched 20 feet high and off in either direction. She knew from experience that if she tried to scale the fence, or tried to get a Nanovor to fly over, the gate would only stretch higher. It was only a representation of data. There was no way to get past it without the password. Thank goodness for Madame Zeldara. Dana slipped her hand into her pocket again and pulled out a golden skeleton key, password number 1. It slid easily into the lock in the gate. When she turned it, the entire gate and fence disappeared, flickering briefly before it went.
Welcome to Skylab Technologies,
A pleasant voice said. Thank you very much, Dana said, and continued further. 2 passwords to go, according to the information she had from Madame Zeldara. She was walking on a steep mountain road now. If she stopped and concentrated on the rocks surrounding her, she could make out the internal web pages of Skylabs. But she wasn't where she needed to be, so she led her Nanovor on. The second gate blocked the actual entrance to the mountain. A round grate set into the rock. It didn't seem to need a key, but there was a button to press. She didn't know how to get to the button without impaling her arm, since if you were injured in the nanosphere, it affected your body in the real world. She wasn't sure of the extent of the injury she'd carry. Lucas had been hit by a Nanovor attack in the arm once, and it had been numb for a few days after. But she wasn't going to test it if she didn't need to. She reached into her pocket for the second password. It appeared as a chainmail glove that stretched up her arm. She pulled the heavy glove on and reached in. A spike snagged on her glove, but as it lodged into the chainmail, it flickered and died. Once she'd removed most of the spikes, she was free to reach the button and push it. Like the other gate, it disappeared quickly. The gate protected a narrow tunnel lit by torches that burned a deep green. Data gathered from experiments. Numbers that meant something only when connected to a project. It would be good to farm that data, but she didn't have the time. At the end of the tunnel, Dana stepped out into another field full of blue grass. A yellow river ran through the center, streams of data going out into the internet. And beyond the river, a crystalline wall surrounded a fortress. The thick seal looked impenetrable, but she wasn't worried. Mademoiselle Dara would come through. She slid her hand into her pocket again and closed her fingers around nothing. Snakes that served as her data carriers or her address locators slithered around her fingers, but she couldn't find the password. Why wasn't the third password in there? Mademoiselle Dara should have had it. She stood back from the wall and thought. Lucas must have found the phone plugged into the fortune teller and removed it. Ben and Bulk had failed her. Her Megadoom nuzzled her again, and she patted it absently. Well, girl, looks like it's down to a vor. We can probably use you, but best to start with the big guns, huh? It made a low digital sound. Dana concentrated and sent an electric charge through the nanosphere, the call leaving her hands like lightning. Her favorite Nanovor was not one that treated her with dog-like affection like the other two. This one refused to be tamed, working with her only out of mutual respect. But when she needed a lot of power, it was where she turned first. Phase Spiker, her blue and green viper-like vor, appeared close to her. It rumbled at her, and she patted it gently. She pointed at the crystal wall and said, "Do you think you can take that down?" She didn't need to encourage it further. It rushed at the wall, laughing, with an ASP kiss attack. She stepped back as the crystal wall gave a deafening ringing noise, like chimes. Dana covered her ears as it laughed again. The crystal remained strong and unyielding. She chewed on her lip for a moment, then, with a motion of her hand, sent in the other Nanovor. Her armored Megadoom charged forward, and the spindly Doom Mantis began jabbing its sword-like legs at the crystal. The noise was terrific, and Dana backed up to watch. The Doom Mantis achieved the first breaking point, its sharp feet causing a crack in the crystal. "Almost there! Come on!" she yelled. Her phase spiker laughed out again, and the crystal wall flickered. Yes. Dana took one step forward, grinning in anticipation. But then she heard something behind her. "Dana, stop!"